Okay, roll call. Member Carlson?
Here.
Member Alcessor?
Here.
Member Friedman? Here. Member Kaplan?
Here.
Member Novak? Here. Chairman Roll? Here.
All right. We have a relatively short schedule. We're going to go to item 3. We're skipping item 2 because that's been moved till August. And this is a public hearing to consider a request of Kimberly and Jeffrey Hirsch to reduce the rear yard setback in order to build an accessory structure, a deck, at 240 Old Green Bay Road. Whoever is thinking of speaking on this, you should raise your hand and get sworn in. So whatever testimony there is sworn. Might be you, could be anybody.
Anyone in support or opposition, or just have a question? If you plan on speaking tonight, please raise your hand.
Raise your hand. You swear or affirm that the testimony you will be providing in this matter will be true and complete?
Okay. So whoever's presenting this, come on up to the podium. Tell us who you are, where you live, and then tell us what you want us to do. We're pretty informal, but
okay.
And then there'll be plenty of time to ask questions or make objections or whatever.
Sure. So basically, we're looking at.
But first, who are you?
Oh yeah, my name is Jeff Hirsch. I'm half of the owner of 240 Old Green Bay Road. So we moved in about 5 years ago. It's a 100-year-old home, 1920 something, and it's pushed really far back on the lot in kind of a diagonal fashion. So, when I was talking to Nathan Parch about the default setbacks and whatnot, he said that it might classify for a hardship case given the location of the home on the angle and how far back it is from the street. So what we were looking to do was, even though it is pushed back on the lot, it's about it's 1.5 pins, so it's a larger lot. It's almost a half acre. There's considerable room in the backyard, and we were looking at putting a deck with a hot tub sunken into the deck on kind of connected to our sunroom area. And the way that the size of the hot tub and whatnot would barely, if it all, fit according to the original setback requirements. So we were looking at kind of sinking that hot tub and having just 6 feet or something for sitting kind of next to it and whatnot. And so that was when I talked to Nathan. He mentioned the kind of the 20% appeal process, and so we put a document together. It looks like you all have it, so that's great. And so that's essentially what we're looking to do. And the hot tub is the kind of primarily reason asking for kind of the extension there, because by the deck itself, it doesn't necessarily, we're not just doing it for the deck. We're doing it because we want to include kind of this kind of sunken hot tub.
So you need a variance to do the hot tub.
Right. And even with given the sizes and whatnot, even with the variance, it's still like 26 feet, I think, of space between like the lot line, and so it's a considerable amount of space. It's not like we're kind of breathing right down our neighbors' necks.
Did you get responses from neighbors on their position on this? Were there any objections? Did you reach out to your neighbors?
I did not reach out. Well, one neighbor that lives right next to us, the closest neighbor just right to the north of us, we spoke with them about it, and there was no objection. But I didn't reach out to anyone other than that, and I didn't get any responses. I got the paperwork, and they mentioned that they had also received the paperwork, but I had not reached out.
So, have you heard from the neighbor who this is closest to where you're getting the variance?
Well, it's kind of hard. It would be the one neighbor is the closest to our lot. There's another one that's close as well. I don't know if this gentleman is that home, but I heard from our one neighbor, but not the other.
Perhaps this gentleman is the one who shares the property line with yours.
Yeah.
Okay, anything else that we should know? You'll be able to come back.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
And before you speak, Dave, did we get anybody contact the village about this?
We were later than normal to get our notice out because of
Stuff, I got it.
fun of the last month, but we did get out, I think, and the one contact we had, I believe, is the gentleman that's here tonight.
Okay, all right, so come on up, tell us who you are, where you live.
A couple of things. One, well, I don't want to lose that. It would be impossible to even talk to him about this because we didn't get notice of this until Saturday.
Sir, could you give your name, please?
My name is Alan Kovitz, 228 Wentworth. I am a neighbor to him. My east lot line adjoins his west lot line, and that's where the variance would be. If we could have talked at all, it would have been interesting to at least know what's going in. I had no idea until he just said a hot tub. And as I said, if you look at the letter that went out, it was dated June 26th. The envelope was postmarked June 27th. We received it on Saturday. I had absolutely no chance to communicate with him at all. I looked at it and I called the village today. A couple of things. One, I'd like to know if there is some type of a situation here where the amount of footage that he's looking for, I think he can put in what he wants. And I'm not telling you that I'm exactly against it completely, but he's got 25 feet within the ordinance that he could use. The 6 feet would make it, I think, 31 or 32 feet for the variance. So he can use a full 25 feet and not have to come for a variance. That's one aspect. And I'd like to at least figure out, and most of these zoning things, there has to be some kind of a hardship. And I'm not sure that we're looking at a hardship here of any kind of putting in a hot tub where there's been some kind of a situation where the owner has a problem that had not been created by himself, and he's looking for a variance. Those are my two major points on that, and I did want to know what it was going to be. Talking to the village, they're not sure what the deck is going to even look like, so I can't address that point at this particular juncture.
So let me say the following. First, I apologize about the notice. I don't know if that has any legal consequences. I'm not sure what those requirements are. We've had a little staff turnover in the village. Okay, we've had a lot of staff turnover in the village, including the folks that help us with zoning variances. And so it's possible there was a delay, and I apologize for that. And
Thank you.
We're not going to let that prejudice you. One of the things we care about is the neighbors. I mean, there are two categories of folks with property interest. The owner is one,
Yeah.
and the neighbors are another. And you're a neighbor, and you're entitled to be here, and you're entitled to notice. We got a package, and if you haven't seen it, I want you to take a look at mine,
Color version.
and flip through it. But this is, you can go back and take it with. I can crib on some of my cohorts, but that's what it looks like. And let me ask you, and there may be other folks that have questions, and then we're going to let Mr. Hirsch respond. his hardship is he's got an idea about what he'd like to do, but his lot is a little odd in terms of where the house is placed, and so he's got limited opportunities. It wouldn't really make sense to put this deck in the front yard. So that's what he wants to do. What's your hardship if he gets to do it?
I don't really have a hardship, and I said I may not be at the point of objecting to this. I had absolutely no information. It's impossible to object to something if you don't know what you're objecting to.
Well,
I
understand that. You don't have to get up, Mr. Hirsch. What's your timing on doing this project?
It's absolutely flexible. I mean, we were looking at the fall, so
Good. So now it looks like anybody else want to ask it, because it seems to me we have an obvious solution here. They're not in a hurry. We have to have an August meeting. You're totally entitled to notice. For future reference, Mr. Hirsch, one of the things we try to coach people on, and I know because of the staff turnover you might not have gotten this advice, but one of the things we tell people is, if you don't want problems, talk to your neighbors. It doesn't guarantee one of the problems. Sometimes neighbors just don't want it. But almost all the time, if you talk to your neighbors and get them involved early, you'll avoid problems. So, anybody want to ask any questions about this? Okay.
I'm just wondering why there isn't any architectural plan or artist rendering. The only thing we seem to have is sort of a sample, which looks like it's on a rooftop. So I'm just curious as to why there isn't anything that we can actually look at.
Yeah, so there should be a kind of graphic in there. Now, granted, I did have a contractor out there, and so we should talk about kind of the square footage available, because there's definitely a disconnect during that. But I put together the packet myself, and I put together kind of, I think there should be a color-coded kind of map of kind of what that looks like. Frankly, I was waiting to see whether or not there would be any problems with this before I paid someone to kind of draft up the actual document. I didn't really drop, however much money to have this all professionally put together and pay someone only to just have it projected at the end of the day. So I did my best to try and put together a drawing as well as kind of that PowerPoint picture of the
Technically, that's allowed. And I know we understand the point. On the other hand, the risk is you give us something that's not going to match with what your architect wants to do or can do. But we don't have. I'm not aware of any requirement that you have a professional. Well, it seems to me that what we should do, and I don't know whether we need to do it or whether the applicant can simply request that we do it. But it seems to me that what we need to do is to have you punt this by a month so that you can make sure that your neighbors have plenty of notice to know what you're going to do, and then we'll know whether there's a problem. And it sounds like maybe, and we hope that there won't be, which is not. But sometimes somebody wants to do something, and you can see why the neighbor wouldn't like it. It's going to block their light, or something. Sometimes it's the Hatfields and the McCoys. Neighbors hate each other, and one guy wants to do it, the other one says no. And we try to figure those out and discount them. And then sometimes the neighbors are totally cool with it. So, but the main thing is the neighbors need notice, so there's plenty of chance to think about it, so they're confident that their house isn't getting wrecked because you're doing something with yours.
I mean, real quick, I do understand. I submitted my paperwork 2 months ago, and I got punted from June hearing because there was something else going, and Nathan said how about July. So I know Nathan's not here anymore, so maybe something got lost in the shuffle.
Yeah, look, we're not blaming anybody who's out there. We've had some snafus. Is the right thing to do to have him ask or for us
Well,
to do it?
it seemed like there was a question from one of the members regarding the plan submitted, and I think that I don't know if there's any sort of consensus from the board that further detailed plans would be appreciated in helping the determination. If not, if he wants to stand on his application as forward, he can do that. And I mean, he could ask to proceed tonight, given the feedback, but he also knows that what you've been hearing as well.
Yeah, I will say, I think it's very important for the neighbors, and we have one here, to have a decent opportunity. Doesn't mean we're not remotely suggesting it's your fault, but he needs a decent opportunity to look at this. We hope he'll be satisfied, you'll be able to work it out. And in terms of the plans, you're going to have concrete enough plans that your neighbors are satisfied. You're going to have concrete enough plans that we're satisfied you're complying with the ordinance. But I'm not inclined to insist that, I'm not inclined to insist that you spend a bunch of money if you're not sure what you want to do.
Quick question.
Is there I guess I assume that this part of the process was just requesting the variance, and then I would have to apply for a permit at a later time, where I would provide my more detailed plans, and it would have to conform to whatever that kind of variance.
That's correct.
Okay.
That is correct. We typically get architect type plans, but
At this stage,
we typically do, but I don't think there's a requirement for that, and I understand your point. For what it's worth, we approve a lot of stuff, so the risks are not enormous in proceeding. But this time, you have a neighbor who's concerned.
So I'll just quickly say, Mr. Kovitz, thank you for coming and attending. Receiving notice on Saturday, which was 2 days ago, would be completely unsettling if I was in your shoes. And to come out of your way to attend, I think, is commendable. And it's unfortunate that you had to do that without knowledge of the situation. Mr. Hirsch, I definitely think going forward involving, and Howard already talked about it, but particularly the neighbor who shares this lot line and is most affected by your request for the variance. And you kind of have a second chance here, so to speak. I'm not saying that we all would have voted no, just given if somebody said we had to vote tonight, I'm not sure how it would shake out. But now you do have an opportunity to speak with your neighbors. And maybe that can inform you as to whether or not you want to invest in architectural drawings and the contractor and all that stuff. But I would be remiss if I didn't mention that being in your shoes would be very difficult to receive that notice without knowledge of what was happening. And so...
No, the only thing I knew was they're looking for a 6-foot variance, and I couldn't tell you what it would be.
Right,
and it doesn't
and that's
sound
wrong.
like
And I looked back there. There is a deck. I looked at the plan, at the site plan. I saw 25 feet. That 25 feet looked like he could get a permit on that. And I'm looking at that and saying, what's so crazy about putting something in a 25-foot instead of 31, and 6 feet is such a de minimis thing. It's kind of a bad precedent to have such a small thing. Somebody else comes in with 3 feet or something like that. Those are sometimes those are good variances that you can ask for. But the question is, if the adjoining landowners don't get any type of information, they can't object, and they can't affirm a neighbor who says, I'd like to put it in. They could give them a positive. But if you're left in the dark, you come up with nothing.
We agree with that, and I hope that this resolution that we have today will fix that for this time.
Yeah.
And typically, we do better on notice. we've had some issues. We had issues with this meeting. That's all around, we get issues with this meeting.
So Hirsch, one question I'm going to ask you next month is, are there any locations on your lot where you can put this hot tub that is within the parameters of the setbacks?
I mean, I can answer that now.
Fine.
If you look at the lot survey, so I do have a deck in the back that's concrete. So if I was to put a hot tub in, you can see one area of it is a dining area, another area is a living area. It just would look aesthetic. And so, I did talk to Nathan. We were talking about a pool at one point for our kids and children, and that became just financially not viable. And so we thought that this would be a good compromise for the kids to kind of get wet in summer. But when we were talking about the pool, there is some property on the south side of the lot where it could go. It's not in a viewing area where the main deck is, so our sunroom and kitchen kind of look out on our backyard. This would be over where we would have kind of eyes on the hot tub at all times. So we weren't really keen on not being able to see the kids if they were in there. And so this was kind of seemed like the ideal place for it. And then obviously there's, I don't know, this is like viable, right? There's a good amount of room.
Anybody else have questions? So, in terms of how we do this, if the applicant asks, is that solve the problem, or do we want to do something?
Mr. Hirsch, would you find it acceptable if we continued this matter to the August 5th meeting? It's a Monday night. Okay.
You're okay with that too?
Yeah, that's
And I
fine.
hope you guys will work it out long before then. And if you do, work the village.
Well,
And-
with that kind of time frame, there's no problem. At least I now we'll be able to talk to him and get some information or get some from the village as to what actually is going to happen here. That's plenty of time.
And has the board members expressed if they want to have any other information from Mr. Hirsch beyond their existing comments?
From my point of view, Mr. Hirsch, so right now you have a neighbor who maybe is objecting. So A, try to make sure you guys work it out, but B, somebody might come out of the woodwork, so you should bring your A game and whatever you have to tell us.
Well, I would say this: if Mr. Kovitz, right?
Right.
If he continues to object, that would be unfortunate, right, for both parties. But I guess what I'm saying is, based on the information in this packet and the pictures provided, combined with neighbor objections, I would be inclined to vote no. So my advice would be, whether or not you're spending the money on the architectural and all this, maybe to include some more photographs, maybe a layout, a schematic that at least shows how neighbors would be affected. So if we can get more of an idea of what it might look like from other properties, and I don't know how, it's hard to do that. You included a lot of pictures and the trees get in the way and it's kind of difficult. But I guess what I'm saying is, right now I don't feel like I have enough information to know whether or not this would be a hardship for your neighbors or not. So something to think about as you move forward and you talk with your neighbors is that sort of thing.
And it doesn't sound like Mr. Kovitz is necessarily objecting to the added 6 feet. I think he's just raised concerns about the lack of notice and trying to get more knowledge. And I think, again, I wouldn't demand it, but I think that those architectural plans may put things in a visual perspective for Mr. Kovitz as well as for us, where we can say comfortably, this looks really good and Mr. Kovitz is appeased, and it improves your property and makes it that much better, and potentially improves all the neighbors' properties as well, and it shows that it's not a burden on them.
I agree that if I were sitting in your spot, I'd come up with the same solution, because it's a question of timing, and it's a question of being able to be informed.
Thank you. Are we good moving this till? Okay. I think, as I understand what's happened, is the applicant has asked us to move this to the August 5 meeting, and in the interim, he'll talk to his neighbors, one of whom's here, and he'll bring in whatever he wants to bring in on August 5.
So at this point in time, a motion to continue the public hearing on this docket to the August 5th meeting of the ZBA, which will be scheduled after this vote is done.
Is there a motion?
I motion to move this to August 5th.
Is there a second?
All in
Favor?
Aye.
And the motion is approved. Thank you, Mr. Hirsch. Thank you, Mr. Kovitz. Mr. Hirsch, I had a hot tub, put it in, had it for a while, took it out. You're welcome to take that. Why don't you take it, because that way you have information.
I'm looking for ovations or things like that.
Yeah, we don't have that yet. Okay, take that, so you have more information. All right, thank you. So this is, the next item is public comment time. We have you're good.
Yeah.
Thank you. You're good. I see there's a big crowd. There's no public comment. Is there a motion? Is there anything else you can talk about?
I think we may have to motion to schedule the August 5th meeting, because it's not...
You continue to matter to a meeting that has not been scheduled. If you really want me to be a big stickler about it.
Okay.
So
right.
I'm on a roll here.
I went to that CLE program.
I'll motion to schedule the August 5th meeting.
Is there a second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. Thank you.
So staff will post notice of that on the calendar, and then in accordance with Open Meetings Act rules as well.
So Dave, do we assume that this is going to be you on August 5?
Probably be at least another month. Yeah, we're and just before you adjourn, I just wanted to, on behalf of staff, just apologize. There's been a confluence of the moons the month of June. One that we don't need to repeat, but in the course of 15 days of 3 staff members for different reasons became that, but with a total staff of 4, it's over 11. So. We are moving on recruitment and expect to have an excellent candidate filling that role as soon as possible. So until that time, we'll be there. I failed to introduce Rich McGowan, who's a permit technician who's been hired in our department back in April, and so he was immediately appointed department head.
Congratulations.
But he's been a great asset. He'll be assisting in there as well. Okay. I apologize. We do better than this, and we will do better. Trust me.
Okay. All right.
Those things happen.
So, yeah, we're 0 for 2 tonight, but things happen.
Don't worry about that.
There you go. All right. Is there a motion to adjourn? Is there a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. Thank you, everybody, and see you on August 5th.